when you're talking about high-level sports, it really comes down to really, really, really not wanting to lose.
Yeah.
And how you conduct your life around that. I don't like to use this word, my rival.
Yeah.
It was actually a complete garbage of a human being.
Right.
This dude, he made my life miserable for the 4.5 years I spent there.
Right.
Nobody cares about a single medal you won or a single fight that you won, at least in our sport. Nobody does,
Yeah.
People, like, when I eventually stop, I like people, when my name is brought up, to say, man, he's had some career, a combination of wins, losses, draws, ups and downs. And then I start with love and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they're lashing out, right, and I think this is lost on a lot of people, all that negative scolding, berating, they're already doing that to themselves. The worst sermon you've imagined yourself telling him, they've told themselves that about 100 times before you came into that change.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So first thing is listen. They're handing me the medal, and I move on from His Majesty the King to Jair Bolsonaro, and I just naturally spoke to him in Portuguese, and I said, Mr. President.
Today's guest is someone whose journey is as disciplined as it is daring. From Bahrain to Brazil, a young man who started training under his uncle, to then become the first Bahraini black belt from under the legendary Fabio Gurgel. He has truly lived the arc of athlete, student, and now mentor. We're talking 6-time Asian champion and multiple-time world champion, 2 times Best Asian Athlete Award at the AJP, number 1 ranked Jiu Jitsu player in Asia 2021, finalist at the Abu Dhabi World Professional Championship 2021, gold at the Asian Indoor Games 2019, 2 separate medals of honor, one being the Medal of Honor of the First Degree from His Majesty the King of Bahrain, a business owner, head coach of Elements Jiu Jitsu in Bahrain, and above all else, a family man and father. This is Ali Monfaradi, and this is Conversations with Coaches. Welcome, Ali. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The critic inside of me, it was just like filtering through those facts and accomplishments. And man, you got it all right. So, all right, congratulations on the long list without any errors.
It was a long list, and it's quite the resume. It's quite the resume. Very impressive. So before we do carry on, I'd just like to say a thank you to our sponsor, Hikaya Studios, for helping us out with this amazing space. We're going to jump straight into it. So, Ali, clearly a very accomplished and successful BJJ athlete and coach, and you've experienced this sport at all various levels. Take us to it. So it's competition day. You're standing on the side of the mat. You're waiting for the official to call you guys in for the start. For those who don't know, who haven't experienced sort of combat sports, what does that moment feel like for you, and what's going through your mind?
Perhaps the main thing, if the stakes are real, is nerves. Mm-hmm. You'd feel a fair bit of nerves, and I think that's healthy. If you don't feel nervous at all, then you're probably not taking it seriously.
Sure.
To which I would say, why are you even there? But a little bit of nerves is a completely healthy thing. And it's all about managing that, focusing on your breathing, going through your strategy, if there is any, and just to the best of your ability, trying to walk into the mat with a blank slate in the back of your mind, because you don't want to go in with preconceived notions. I've done that a lot before, where I go in assuming the fight will go a certain way, and then boom, I'm surprised, because, the game wasn't as one-dimensional as I assumed it to be. But just calming my nerves, breathing, focusing, reminding myself perhaps of how awesome and great I am, because boosting yourself and having a healthy ego is also an important part of the process.
Absolutely. So visualization, is that a big part of your sort of your mantra going into a match or even pre-competition?
Yeah, visualization, but perhaps not in the generic term. or the traditional sense. Like I said, I don't want to box myself into preconceived notions.
Yeah.
But that being said, there is this mental map going on where I try to kind of run myself through different possible scenarios, nothing that I wouldn't already know. It's more of a calming mechanism, It's,
Yeah.
just reminding myself that to the best of my ability, most of this is under my control, but nothing that I'm aggressively planning,
Yeah, yeah. And that got better with time, I suppose, or do you still feel the same as that first match day sort of nerves?
Honestly, there's no build mechanism or rule book when it comes to this. Honestly, when I started competing some 18 years ago, I guess in a way I'm still making it up as I go along,
Yeah.
picking up some tricks here and there, taking out other things that aren't working, having a conversation or two with my peers. And yes, the game is evolving, and so am I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm sure, no doubt, no doubt. So, I have been watching some of your matches online when we're doing some research. And by the way, you can find a lot of Ali's videos on his YouTube channel, full fights, as tips on his Instagram account as well. They'll all be very interesting. But for someone who I'll be honest, has spectated very few Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu matches in my lifetime, my first impression was that it's like a bit of a human chess match in that you're pushing positions, you're waiting for the right moments, forcing errors. You talked about strategy. How much strategy do you take into these matches, both mental and physical?
Oh, that's a good question because I'm a big fan of sports, but I don't consider myself first and foremost as an athlete because
Okay.
I'm not the most athletic person. I try to do my due diligence. I try to eat well, sleep well, hydrate, nutrition, strength and conditioning. But I do believe that when we're talking about the cream of the crop, I wouldn't be the most imposing physical figure in the room or the division or the category or the bracket. So it is that mental aspect, that's technical portion of the game that I really rely on.
Sure.
I think jiu-jitsu is such a mental game that given the right strategy or set of techniques, you could beat somebody who's stronger than you, somebody who's more explosive, somebody who's more athletic, fitter, even in certain cases, somebody who is objectively speaking better than you.
Yeah.
Because let's assume the guy is good at A, B, and C. But if my strategy works around those things and I'm coming at you with G, E, and F, then within those 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, however long the match is, we'll never find out how great the guy is because my strategy involved him never exploring that portion of his game.
Yeah.
And I think I'm fairly good at doing that, which in other words also means imposing my game. That's what I always tell my students because, I've been competing for a long time and this is going to sound like I'm really old. I'm 31, I swear, but back when I started competing, back in my day, there wasn't much social media. So I'd go into the stack bracket of 127, 128 people.
Yeah.
And you'd need 7 fights to get the gold medal. And as you progress through the bracket, you'd meet people of different levels, progressively higher levels as you advance through the bracket. And they'd have these awesome stories. Oh, this guy, he's been sleeping on the mats for 6 months. This guy, he was homeless, but now he's doing this. This guy is sponsored by Adidas,
Yeah.
But because I came from that time where there wasn't much social media, I don't know. It was just some guy, and I applied my strategy, and I beat him in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then later, after the fight, people would tell me, oh, this guy did this and this and this, to which I would say, oh, cool.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But it's a bit in reverse now because, especially with my students, and I do not recommend this, they research the guys, but not in a healthy way where you're building a strategy.
Yeah.
They research their stories. They research their accomplishments. They research whatever is supposed to make their self-esteem, feel worse at the time of the fight. And so, I come from that time where I just don't care what the guy's story is or what they're up to or how much they need this. And I kind of still apply that to this day.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, so because you think now with social media, like yourself, recording so many fights, you're putting them out there for access to everybody, people who could be, going into a competition with you. So there's the opportunity for so much analysis, but also just naturally social media nowadays is only the good bits typically. So again, like you said, for your students, you're kind of, they're feeding into this like story of who this person is, and they're obviously polishing that story as much as they can. So you think it's like better or worse, like with or without it sort of thing?
I mean, we live in an age where we have access to the most information we've ever had at any point in history. And that only applies even more so to our sport.
Yeah.
Again, I hate to say that, but back in my day, we had very little access to techniques or online schooling of any sort.
Yeah.
So now I can literally look up whoever I like, subscribe to their platform, buy their courses, buy their DVDs, and I kind of inherit a portion of their game. And yes, there is a bit of nuance. Coaching still has a major role, the kind of training you do. But for me, as somebody who's making it up as they go along, I have an infinite source of information.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's great. We have a lot of access, but it's easy to get overwhelmed with all of the noise. And it's very hard. And trust me, even I am a victim to this. I don't mean to make myself sound old and wise,
No. Yeah.
So the social media takes that 1% that's positive or seems positive from somebody's life, and it amplifies it. And then when you go to somebody's profile, like, oh, their life is just one banger after the other.
Yeah.
Or we're all just, our lives are, and again, I want to sound miserable, but our lives are really a series of hardships, challenges, and failures leading up to that next bit of success.
Yeah.
It's just that we're not going to brag about that 99% of the path.
Yeah.
We're going to brag about the destination, and honestly, and I get that social media and online, the online aspect of everything is a major part of my business, but I'm kind of down with all of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's great for telling the story. It's great for promoting a cause. It's great for inspiring and teaching people all the things you said. So, but I mean, would you find yourself then, if you're going to a competition, would you be looking for analysis in the sense of like watching a previous fight? Because I lead on to say, who have a bit of experience in the coaching industry myself, an athlete's not always a coach, and a coach isn't always an athlete. So it's interesting when you have the combined aspect of someone who can compete and now also deliver it, because an effective coach breaks down a movement. They can spot flaws. You can see where, I mean, I don't know, he performs this armbar, but you can see a weakness in it because you teach that movement so effectively. So is that a go-to for yourself, looking at movement analysis? Or?
Well, yeah, for sure. I really don't consider myself a fan of the sport. I don't consider myself a spectator.
Sure.
But whatever watching or studying I do is that. It's studying, it's research, but there's so many events where, there's like these closed brackets or online super fights. And there's just so many high-level events where in Bahrain we'd have to wake up at 4 a.m. to watch.
Sure.
I've never done that.
It makes it very difficult to spectate.
Yes, but people do that. People are huge fans of that. I would watch the replay the next day if it's relevant, but I do not follow people's careers that closely. And I not to sound arrogant, but I'm just much more invested in my journey.
Of course.
And I want to be first and foremost a fan of myself than jumping on the fanhood of somebody else,
Sure.
But yeah, for sure. And if I'm competing and I'm there, if there's a fight coming up, somebody I'm about to fight, I would be interested to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Without concerning myself too much with it. That's one of those times where I would excuse myself to kind of watch an opponent's match, because in my mind, during the process, I committed my mental bandwidth to myself. But now I'm there. I'm at the tournament. The work is done, and the fight is happening in front of me. Sure, if I can reap some benefit from that, or perhaps somewhat modify my strategy if need be, usually not the case, then sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, whatever you are doing, it's clearly working. So that's good. Okay, interesting. So continuing with mindset a little bit, just to give you a bit of a backstory. So we were doing some research, obviously for this talk, and we came across this athlete, Josh Saunders, and he's reportedly one of the best grapplers coming out of Australia. He has a whole YouTube channel as well with lots of information about BJJ. Now, one of his number one tips on what we researched was not separating the training mindset from the competition mindset, and to try to treat all of your roles or your sparring as all little mini tests, and to be sort of switched on all the time rather than relaxed, I guess, in those environments. So you're not, in essence, then when you approach the competition, it's not this monstrous sort of anticipation of the event. And I've heard something similar with boxers as well, that when they get into the ring to spar in training days, some guys, they just have it. The minute they step in, they're in, like, this is now their mindset. It's like, we're not friends, we're boxing. This is what's going to happen. And it's very important that they maintain it in that sense. I was just curious what your take was on that mindset.
Well, there's a lot of nuance to this question, but to a large extent, I agree.
Yeah.
To a large extent, I believe that you should train the way you fight. And what happens in training, like, let's take the most generic sparring session. It would be like multiple rounds in succession with short amounts of rest. And your average human being, any human being, they would be more and more tired as the rounds progress.
Sure.
And your posture will modify as you progress through the rounds. Your attitude will modify. Your energy expenditure will modify.
Yeah.
And then a smart human being, pure survival instinct, they start applying different strategies to kind of ensure they don't fail. So they use their resources more efficiently and conservatively, which is fine. Here's my issue with that. You're doing that to avoid failure. And let's say there's 5 rounds, That first round, you fought as if you would compete. Second round, kind of. Third round onwards, you're doing a completely modified strategy.
Sure.
Ergo, you are not training the way you're going to compete. Round 3 onwards are lost on you. You are improving your fitness, you're becoming smarter, you're becoming more efficient, but you're not training for that fight day.
Yeah.
Also, because you are becoming more conservative, you're becoming more careful, you're changing that whole formula, you're also preventing failure. And what do we know about just the exercise industry in general? Training to failure is where you find the most results. And it's no different with a mental game like Jiu Jitsu. So yes, you will be more tired. Yes, you'll be, a bit more thirsty, a bit more disoriented, but you gotta still act like you are about to compete, so that when your brain isn't operating at its full capacity, you'll make those mistakes so that you can fix them.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. So to that extent, I agree with everything you just mentioned. But there is some nuance, like not every session or every round should be to compete. If I'm like camping for a tournament, or if the format of our training is in that win to stay or that kind of training in general, sure. But a lot of my training is based around modifying, improving, or learning something new.
Yeah.
I will not be experimenting on competition day. But unless I want to be the same guy 20 years from now, I need to be experimenting, modifying, and exploring on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Then we kind of exit that competitor's mindset a little bit. I'm also running an academy with multiple students across the spectrum, only 3% of which are hardcore professional competitors.
Sure.
I need to be training with the kids. I need to be training with people who are a bit more casual, people who are doing it for self-defense, people who are doing it just to be part of a society. Now imagine there's this guy who 50-something-year-old guy. He's there just to train with his son, and he faces competition alley,
It's going to be
so there is that as well. So yeah, to a large extent, I agree.
Yeah.
But like I said, when you are training for the long run, there is a lot of nuance. And I think that is lost on a lot of people. And I think training hard exclusively, that'll make you a tough guy.
Yeah.
That'll make you a tough guy. But if being tough was all it took, then every powerlifter would put a gi on and win jiu-jitsu competitions.
Yeah.
You need to be present. You need to be mindful, and you need to be extremely technical.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's very technical, isn't it? So when it comes down to you're developing movement patterns all the time. So if you're trying to perfect the procedure of a movement, trying to do that, with always competition mindset may not always be the best way to, I mean, again, I say this from zero experience in the sport whatsoever, but sort of taking it back a bit as well and working with somebody who's maybe a colleague and also a great athlete to break those movements down. Would that make sense? I mean, building on the technique.
Absolutely. Like, it's funny, like a lot of times I train with somebody and they tell me, oh, you're just wasting your time with me, or you're on a different level. And I always have the same answer. It's like, look, I don't know about you, but when I'm training, every role is beneficial to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Just how I conduct myself around that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who I'm training with. And to some extent, in some capacity, I make myself benefit from it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's individual, right? So it's a different way. It's that they're going to have more power, less power. They could be faster, benefits in here or there. And I guess also with amateurs, they might do something that's not what you would anticipate, which could be an interesting for a competition.
There is that, that's definitely something to consider, Maybe stay away from those kinds when you're about to compete.
Yeah, which you don't know what you're like, but yeah. Okay, interesting. So we're talking through mindset then, bit of strategy, pre-match strategy, your mindset on the day. How much of this do you think is nature and how much of it do you think is nurture? Did you learn your approach? Is it just completely built over experience, or would you say that some people just naturally come with those sort of qualities as well?
Well, I do believe because like when we use terms like nature and nurture, we're also we cannot escape the word talent, and I believe that hard work can overcome talent any day, but also I believe that the word talent is so misleading. Usually, when somebody assumes somebody's talented, it's because they make a few mental calculations, they mirror themselves and this person, and they're like, okay, we both did A, B, and C, but this person is now better than me, therefore he is more talented than me. But there is so much backstory there that we don't know about. Let's take you for example. You start jiu-jitsu with somebody similar age, similar build, and you start together, you do all the same things, but the guy just seems to be so much better coordinated than you. He learns faster, but then if we kind of take a microscope and look into his backstory, maybe he had an abusive childhood, and it just made him a tougher dude,
Sure.
Maybe, well, you both started jiu-jitsu together, but maybe he did gymnastics for 15 years, that definitely isn't harmful. So it's such a inefficient way, what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
So that's where we kind of write things off as talent. But I guess my greatest talent, if there was any, it's me being untalented, because I feel like a lot of people, when things come easily to them, they might not have the grit that talented people have. And man, I think like if somebody was kind of making a concoction of, the best ingredients for somebody to become like the super athlete, I was the opposite of that. I was like, oh, a little bit of chubbiness, a little bit of laziness, a little bit of poor genetics,
Yeah.
But I think that was a very unique, perfect combination to kind of make me persevere, because I was horrible at jiu-jitsu for many years. And I was so horrible that I also didn't have many alternatives.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even grit at the time. It was just severe lack of options,
right?
Which eventually turned into grit, which eventually turned into perseverance, So for me, it was nurture, nature can be very helpful, but I think in the long run, like when we're talking about a long career, it all comes down to the process.
Learned development and
Yeah. Backgrounds can help, but then again, like I'm a perfect example of how the lack of background was my greatest asset.
I wonder, is you saying that you weren't a very good jiu-jitsu athlete previously, was that just you being hard on yourself though, or is that something that you felt truly? I mean, paraphrasing you for saying you weren't a good athlete before.
Well, again, like all these questions are making me say back in my day,
But yeah, no, go for it. Yeah, one more.
So yeah, I started when I was 12, and this was back in a time in Bahrain where the sport was virtually non-existent. And I started at that time because we literally trained like a couple times a week. It was when they first started teaching kids, and it was some blue belt who taught us, Nowadays, at our academy, we have like 3 different age groups in 3 different rooms, 3 to 4 coaches per age group. Everything's pre-planned, programmed, none of that existed.
Yeah.
Certainly no online resources existed. So that was all we had. And very quickly, I kind of outgrew that kids group. And around 13 years of age, I transitioned to the adults training class. And yeah, I sucked. I was everybody's warm-up round. And then just a product of the time, there were competitions, very few and far between, and absolutely no kids, youth, teen divisions.
Sure.
In fact, there weren't unified belt divisions either. There was white and blue adult.
Right.
So that was where I fell into. And the first 4 or 5 competitions I competed in, I lost almost exclusively in the first round.
Sure.
So you tell me, was that somebody who was extremely talented? But, again, when you kind of look into it, I was mostly just being overpowered by grown men.
Yeah, sure. You had the age difference, and it sounds like also the belt difference, the category difference.
Yeah, but it's not like I was so technical that I was overcoming those things either.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, if you look into it, I believe my first 3 tournaments, I lost. My first 2 tournaments, perhaps, I lost very quickly by submission. Third one, also in the first round, but I didn't lose by submission. Fourth one, I won a fight and then lost a fight. Fifth one, I won a fight and then lost a fight when it came down to the last few seconds, So they were all colossal failures, but each failure was slightly less colossal than the one that preceded it.
So you were getting better literally by the match.
Yeah. And then, again, like these stories might sound so old, but in 2009, my 5th or 6th competition was the very first edition of the Abu Dhabi World Professional Championship.
Okay.
A championship where throughout the years I've kind of solidified my career. A lot of my highest highs were in this very same tournament. And that's where I received my first medal in the World Professional Jiu-Jitsu Championship. I was 15 at the time, still white and blue adults.
Yeah.
And I guess something just started clicking for me. I even remember my specific game plan. I was like, one technique that I used, it was like half guard sweep. And yeah, I had like 5 fights that day. And then eventually I hit a wall, which was like a really tough opponent in the semifinal.
Yeah.
But that meant that I got my very first medal. And it was this, like, Abu Dhabi, they don't joke, man, with the medal. It's like, it's this humongous medal with the globe on it. And it is obviously not my most objectively valuable medal.
Sure.
But by far my most memorable.
Yeah. Interesting.
It was at that time where I thought to myself, hey, this could actually work out. Up until that point, I was just soldiering on,
Yeah.
But I had nothing to back me up and tell me, hey, you're pretty good, you should keep doing this, This was that for me.
Interesting. It was almost like your journey kind of provided you with the amount of risk and reward that you kind of need, whereas you got pushed back in that first competition, those 5 matches, and then you felt a taste of that success in this competition. So it's interesting how it like sort of pays you get that reward and that taste for the winning, and then pushes you even harder, I'd assume, at that point.
For sure, that that gave me the boost I needed, and I kind of glided through the next few competitions, local, international, and then as we progressed through the years, there were bigger challenges, bigger obstacles to be overcome. But if there was any nexus point, perhaps that was it.
Yeah. Interesting. So that's kind of discussing, I guess, the sort of the intrinsic aspect. What about the impact of family, friends, and crowd support at a competition? I mean, from your club, your immediate family, do you even hear them when you're fighting?
I'm known to be a bit deaf,
Okay.
especially in my left ear.
Yeah.
Cauliflower ears don't help. Yes, makes my ear canal even smaller. But then even more so when I'm competing.
Yeah.
If I must, I'm able to tune out the person who's coaching me, and that's only if they're pretty close to where I am. But yeah, I usually tone most of it out. Like recently, I was competing, and it was in Saudi. It was a local, like in their local event. We'll get to that later, but I was basically like a foreign object inserted into a very local thing, and I was fighting somebody who was local. And as I was going to do the fight, I wasn't fighting technically yet. I was hearing all of this. Let's call it cheering.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking to myself, oh, brother, this is the noise I'm going to have to deal with. But then once I stepped on the mat, I virtually became deaf.
You just
Yeah, and even after the fight, some of my compatriots were telling me, oh, did you hear what they said here and what they said there? No, nothing. Like, if you tell me right now what they said, it will be a big surprise.
Yeah. Interesting. That's interesting. So like doing sort of HIIT workouts, you find there's a thing called MetaFit, and it has pretty horrific music that goes with it. But the point is that when you're doing HIIT workouts, they're like, yeah, but you shouldn't be able to hear the music. You're right. You're like, you're focused in. So maybe, I guess that's like the same sort of thing. Yeah, interesting. Right. So we're talking about, I was having a look at the format, and I realized obviously competition of jiu-jitsu rounds could vary. But as I understand it, if I'm right in saying it's between 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the athlete level and the competition type. Is that right? Yeah. So when it comes down to you, what does a sport-specific strength and conditioning program look for like for you off-season and on-season, or are you mostly technical?
Well, as a professional athlete, I do like to have like the solid physical foundation to rely on. But this is, if you'll allow me to indulge.
Yeah. It's a big question. I can say that.
So I'll not answer the question first, and if I forget what the original question is, please feel free to.
We'll pull you back. Yeah.
So I've always done my due diligence as an athlete when it comes to sleep, rest, rehab, nutrition, strength and conditioning, mobility, stretching. Like even today, I have a guy who just helps me stretch. I have a guy with my strength and conditioning. A guy specified just for my rehab. Jiu-jitsu, obviously, completely other thing,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we get bogged down in these things, which is basically us doing our homework.
Sure.
And it makes you feel better about what you're doing. It makes you feel more prepared. And then when you lose to somebody who seemingly doesn't do all that homework, you think to yourself, man, that guy doesn't deserve it. He's talented.
Yeah.
Well, no, the answer is the guy just does what he does better than you do. You've been distracting yourself with secondary, subsidiary things.
Sure.
But that guy does the main thing better than you.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you should eat poorly, sleep poorly, not work out, It's just that, again, I don't like to throw out numbers, but that's maybe 10% of it.
Sure.
90% of it is
on the mat,
doing the thing.
Yeah.
So that's one portion of it that cannot be denied. Now, when we talk about sports specific, man, I've been competing for a very long time, and I've come across many people who've trained me, and a lot of them have some preconceived notion of what an athlete should be doing, what a jiu-jitsu athlete should be doing. And I see some pretty ridiculous things too, where people like basically do jiu-jitsu movements with cable resistance. And, like
it gets creative out there.
Yeah.
Other sports, I have to say.
Yeah, and what are you doing exactly? Because when I'm doing a jiu-jitsu technique, I don't have cables pulling me back. It's a very unrealistic, what's it called? The axis of resistance, know? So that's one portion of it. Then there's things that seem sport specific, but they're not. Like Let's take pull-ups, for example. All right, you're in the field. What is the primary objective of pull-ups?
A vertical row, if you like, chin above the bar.
No, but like, what is the benefits?
What's the benefit? Well, I guess functional aspect would be like safety or just development of strength. But I mean,
Let me be more specific. What are you working to improve?
I guess your strength.
Okay, but like, again, deadlifts improve your strength, squats improve your strength, biceps. When we're talking about pull-ups, you are focusing on a set of muscles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Right? In this case, and correct me if I'm wrong, your lats, your lower back, a little bit of your upper back, your rear delts, a little bit of core. So that's the pull-up, right?
Yeah.
Now, something that's been, and thankfully I don't see this as much anymore. People take a jiu-jitsu uniform, a gi, they throw it over a bar, and then they do gi pull-ups.
Right, okay.
And then one might assume, it's like, all right, they're doing pull-ups, but even more specific to jiu-jitsu. And it's practical because I will be pulling in jiu-jitsu. But here's the problem.
I always thought that was for the grip. Sorry to interject. I thought it was maybe for the grip, but...
Very good. Very good. Now, again, let's get into it, like real deep, What is grip? Wrist and forearms.
Sure, yeah, muscle-wise, yeah.
When you're doing gi pull-ups, that's not what gives out. It's your fingers, it's your bones, it's the pain you feel in your joints that you have to let go.
Sure.
I did not trigger my back nearly enough. I doubt my grip is giving out. I'm just giving myself early onset arthritis.
Yeah.
So that's just a very good example of something that seems well thought out, but it's not.
It's not, yeah.
Circling back to your original question.
Yeah, sure.
Sport specificity is a very complex thing, and I think most of us do not have enough information to go on to understand. So I would say, do your basics well.
Yeah.
And when lacking that, just improve your body well. And that'll give you what you need to support you to a certain extent as far as injury prevention, basic strength, and conditioning go.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a specific exercise, you want to be improving that exercise. That means if we're doing squats, I need to be triggering my quads.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing this jumping variation of the squat that turns into bicep curls, and then I throw the dumbbells away and then I pass somebody's guard, I'm doing multiple things poorly.
Sure.
None of those things are being led to failure.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've become much, much more traditionalist or conservative when it comes to my work in the gym.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, I think that goes a long way, and across so many disciplines. I mean, it's the KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid. Right? It's about doing the basic things well, as you rightly said, and it's the same in gym. I mean, you can be creative for variation, but if you're looking for performance, it most always just comes back to those compound lifts, like just keeping it simple, hitting that. So if you were talking to someone who was, say, quite fitness minded, but had just started BJJ or was early on in their days, you would be saying to them about starting a strength program, squats, bench, pull, just getting a push, pull, press, squat, that sort of thing?
I mean, if they have the knowledge to apply those techniques correctly, yes.
Yeah.
If not, I'd recommend something even simpler, like just like a simple bodybuilding split.
Yeah.
It's always better than nothing, Again, like ideally, I would do what you just described.
Yeah.
But man, the deadlift, I don't think I'm still good at the deadlift. The squat, I still learn a little bit more every day. And I've been lifting for well over a decade. So if you get some guy who's never really exercised in the life before, I can just send them away on a push-pull split.
Yeah, sure.
Ideally, you'd have a professional overseeing your training.
Yeah.
And man, do I use that word professional with some asterisks.
Yeah.
But if there is one, you should preferably have one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got to be injury prevention. That's the whole idea. You're as you said, it's secondary to your main goal, right? So
health and well-being, supporting your goals. But you want to improve your jiu-jitsu, you do jiu-jitsu. You want to improve your jiu-jitsu techniques, you do it with jiu-jitsu techniques, Yeah. Endurance, there's an argument to be made there. Muscle resistance, there's an argument to be made there. Just general recovery, strength, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But not much more.
Sure, fair. So, researching a bit about BJJ, I understand that it started. I think it was from a Japanese martial artist initially. I'm not going to give a timeline of the history as such, but more to set the question. I think it started with judo, but then also a lot of the principles with the Gracie family making it a prominent sport around the world. Was a lot of it was about smaller people using physics and leverage to be able to overcome a larger athlete. Happy with that. So let's now take it to, say, the professional level. You've got two people that are a good matchup. How much do you put down to strength and how much do you... I mean, I know you're going to say technique is the strength, but let's say that when does strength come in? When does strength take precedence in a fight? Is it because of tiredness? Is it without leading you?
Let's assume we are of a similar skill level.
Yeah.
We're at a deadlock there. That's where the other factors come to play. Mobility, speed, explosiveness, strength.
Yeah.
If my technique is so superior to everybody else, then theoretically speaking, none of those other things should matter.
Yeah.
But that's such a traditionalist view of it as well, because we are assuming that it's not timed. We're assuming that there are no boundaries where the guy can just explode and run out of your technique.
Yeah.
We're assuming that the referee is this holy, fair, figure that cannot make any mistakes. Athleticism is important, and as I progressed, I always had this very traditionalist viewer is like, my technique is just going to be so much better than everybody else's that it won't matter.
Yeah.
But once you get to it, a high level event, you'll see that everybody has been very much invested in their technique.
Sure.
So your technique may be better than theirs, but how much better is it to the point where physical attributes are rendered irrelevant? That's just not realistic. So yeah, they do come into play. And when it comes to certain rule sets, things that require even more athleticism, it becomes even more important.
Yeah.
Just think of it this way. When you talk about the sports at the highest level, and I mean adults, black belts, professional, they're all super athletes.
Yeah.
When you see people who are kind of, whatever, it's usually an amateur division. Even then, strength would be amazing if they had it.
Sure. Yeah, huge bonus. And then do you have weight classes? Do you have an open heavy class? Like, is it like boxing in that sense?
Very much.
So then an interesting question to me then might be if open heavy, like you've got super heavies, which are say 110 kilos or 120 kilos above.
Yeah.
What happens if you get a guy who's very unfortunately 115 and you get a guy who's like 145? Does that, I mean, that's a lot of weight, but yeah, something in that sort of nuance idea. Is strength then going to be a real problem? Is that, again, or would that just be in the strategy that you take to the fight? Or
well, I hate to be an ultra heavyweight with no strength,
Sure.
Yeah.
But I guess relative though, if you're also fighting somebody who's massive.
Yeah,
and you're massive.
but like at that point is just the laws of physics and pure science. Like if that massive weight falls on top of you, it's So yeah, absolutely.
Sure. No, fair. It makes sense. So, question for you here. So, last 3 to 5 days prior to your competitions, are you still sparring? Are you or rolling? Are you hitting any weights? Are you running? Do you carb load? Do you have a mental prep regime, or are you quite relaxed about it all?
Oh, I'm never relaxed. It's to a fault. My family, they make fun of me about this. I'm not a very, I'm a chill dude in life, but not when it comes to my process. I am very...
So you have a very specific...
I do have a lot of protocols and routines and rituals that I go through. Carb loading, again, it's a bit more nuanced because usually I'm cutting weight.
Yeah.
After which I would have to refuel, in a very calculated and smart way. I do everything right to a fault. Like, let's assume that I have to make weight under a certain division and there's 3 weeks left and I can totally get away with having a pizza.
Yeah.
I don't. not because I somehow think I would run the risk of not making weight or I would make my process more difficult. Perhaps some part of my brain thinks that, but realistically, it's just I wanna. This sounds terrible, but I wanna make myself miserable.
Yeah.
So that I'm a bit more pissed off on the day of the fight.
Yeah, fair.
You know, I don't wanna like have it all
Cozy.
Yeah.
It's too soft.
There's that, and there's the stoic perfectionist that lies within me that doesn't listen to logic, where I just want to do everything perfectly or sacrifice as much as I possibly can so that on the day of the fight, I would want it and feel like I deserve it more than everybody else.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah. It's a bit, I guess it's a bit of an all or nothing principle, which like the same as, say, I don't know, somebody who, it's the worst example in the world, but somebody who's wanting to reduce drinking rather than like just saying, you know, I can't reduce it, I'm just going to stop it. I'm either on or I'm off.
I'm a huge cold turkey guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big cold turkey guy, and it's a horrible way to live your life.
Yeah.
It's a miserable way to live your life, but I'm a miserable guy. So
it gets it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like after competition, I turn into a garbage disposal. If it was a major cut with the season, I would eat things in quantities that are unimaginable. We're past enjoyment at this point.
Yeah.
We're also doing self-punishment, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm very big on cold turkey.
Yeah. And do you stop then? Do you stop sparring or rolling or however you refer to it? I mean, prior to 5 days out of competition, or are you always on the mat?
No, I think you still have to train the way you're going to compete. Volume can be modified. You know, instead of 2-3 sessions a day, it becomes maybe 1 or 2. But you gotta train with those same parameters. Otherwise, your training is not functional, you know?
Yes.
And I'm at a point in my life where jiu-jitsu and certain volumes just doesn't beat me up the way, I don't know, a gym session training to failure would.
Yeah, sure.
But my gym work is tapered, for sure, you know? But I can't practice jiu-jitsu in a way that I don't intend on applying later on.
Sure.
I just do less of it, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay, so you're going to a typical competition, let's say one in Abu Dhabi. What's the typical format? How many days, how many matches is it, assuming you get to medals? Is it from registration to medal over a weekend or however long?
It really depends. Sometimes you're doing weights, and open weight. Sometimes you're doing gi and no gi. Sometimes it's one tournament. But general ballpark, you're looking at something between a minimum of 4 to possibly 7 matches a day.
4 or 7 a day. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty involved. So you mean that? I mean, you must come out pretty like exhausted as well if it's...
I mean, some of my most successful runs involved 6 or 7 fights.
Yeah.
A lot of them involved 7. But it beats you up. It becomes a real mental game. Your body's literally falling apart. And like when it really comes down to it, you're talking about maybe 50 minutes of total activity, excluding warm-ups. But it's that stress of the competition and that's countering of somebody trying to take it away from you, and you're just using the entirety of your physical capacity to fight back. There's also the fact that there's a lot on the line, and then there's the added stress of the stakes. Then you're fighting a human being who's literally trying to achieve a certain goal, and you are physically trying to contradict that goal. That is extremely physically consuming. So as you progress through the rounds, it's not really your fitness that's in question. It's your mental fitness. Like a lot of my most successful or difficult, challenging runs were my bronze medal runs, because gold is pretty standard. Win.
Sure. Yeah.
Most of the tournaments today, how does the bronze medal bracket work? Win. There was a loss at one point, and now you're dumped into the bronze medal bracket. which involves even more fights for less glory.
Sure.
And you're now in a bracket filled with people who also just lost.
Yeah.
And you're surrounded by, and I don't mean this as a degrading term, but you're surrounded by other losers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it comes down to who wants it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and man, I've seen it unfortunately happen a lot with my students where they start fighting differently, you know, when they're in the bronze medal bracket. But yeah, nothing changes for me.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm even more determined.
Yeah.
And yeah, the way the sport works, a bronze medal run would involve 1 or 2 more fights than you originally would have had for a gold medal run.
It's an interesting perspective, though, putting it from the bronze, because as you say, you're fighting almost harder for less.
Yeah.
And that emotional mindset, now you're not going home with the gold. You can't put it on social media. You can't tell your family that, you know, I've done X, Y, Z. And then you can kind of, and not to say that you're going to get bronze. I mean, it could all slip away. So it's that mental and emotional, you've got to sort of remain emotionally stable while you're in it and forget about, you stay focused in the now, right?
I find that that's the only way you can really deal with it, because like you just got to be very present and very focused on that very specific moment.
Yeah.
Not just that very specific fight, the current task you're dealing with, the grip you're breaking, the point you're trying to score, the 10 seconds that are left, and you cannot let the guy overturn the scoreboard, you know? Just stay focused on that.
Yeah.
And then you'll pay the physical toll tomorrow, you know? But until then, just stay focused.
That's interesting. So talking about the physical toll, I mean, so you're going through all of these sort of emotions, all of this adrenaline, the dopamine sort of production. Win or lose, how do you feel the next day? Is it just a big crash? Like, I mean, it's almost like you must have, you know, all of this energy upward, and then obviously the next day, I mean, it's great if you won, because then you're off the fumes for a few days as well. But yeah, I mean, how does that feel the next day? Is it a big crash for you, or is it?
Oh, for sure. Like, especially on a successful run. Like, if you had an unsuccessful run, you could have had like 1 fight lost, you're out, you know?
Sure, yeah.
It's much more of an emotional situation there. But yeah, for me, and again, it really depends on people's styles. Man, I know even some of my own students, like, they finish a competitive run, then we go back to the hotel and they go to the gym and they jog for like an hour.
Oh, really?
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, some of these young people are crazy. But I think it also comes down to your style.
Yeah.
My jiu-jitsu is very physically consuming.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, you know, but yeah, it does beat me up a lot.
Yeah.
And this is not something I recommend, but a lot of times there are catastrophic injuries that happen on that day, but I just don't let myself register them on the day. But then the next day I can't stand on my foot, you know? Yeah, it's just a huge physical toll.
But yeah, I can imagine. Right, so moving on a little bit from competition mindset and all of that, let's take it back just a little bit. So you said you were 32?
31.
31, sorry.
Do not go there. Yeah. I have a few good months left.
Few good months, though, good. You're Bahraini and grew up in Bahrain?
That's correct.
Yeah, great. Why don't you just take us back? So who was Ali as a teenager? You said you were training at 12. What was your life like, though, before jiu-jitsu, or maybe in the early days, but before jiu-jitsu consumed your world? Were you always into combat sports just as a kid? Like,
I wasn't really seriously into any sports before that. I mean, like everybody else, I tried a little bit of football, a little bit of this, but yeah, very unsuccessful. Yeah, just a chubby, introverted, unremarkable kid in every way. Jiu-jitsu really started opening doors for me, not just physically and health-wise, but also socially.
Yeah.
I do strongly believe that every good thing that has happened to me in life was either indirectly or directly because of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, interesting.
I could even argue that the family that I have today, my wife, my kids, those things happen upon me because of that original path that I set myself on. But yeah, the kid I was back then, quite unremarkable, unathletic, unfit.
Yeah.
You know, I was a good student, not overwhelmingly impressive.
Yeah.
But, I was a good kid. I was conservative, shy, good student, And then, there was a bit of a point in my life where, like, my jiu-jitsu ambitions were kind of colliding with my academics. I did IB at the time, which is the last couple of years in high school, which is very demanding.
Yeah.
So all of that, those couple of years are just a blur. Very little sleep. My days started at around 4:30, where I would wake up, try to go for a jog, just to kind of, support that athletic,
Yeah.
And then that darn school bus showed up first at my house.
Mhm.
So like 5:45.
I did.
One beep, two beeps, then he's gone. So
Yeah.
and then just power through the day. And then by the afternoon, I had one ride to get to the Jiu-Jitsu Academy like a couple hours before the class.
Yeah.
And then my ride after the class would be like a couple hours after the class ended. And then I'd be home and asleep by maybe 10:30, and then rinse and repeat. Yeah. So that was very blurry. And I remember that. And then also my university years. I did my university in Brazil.
Okay.
And in pure pursuit of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That was made very clear.
Some questions for you on that. Yeah.
That was made very clear with my family. But even those years, again, I don't want to say they were a blur, but there was definitely not much sleep going on. So, I feel like I'm kind of punishing myself today even more so with, just being a family man and kids. That also takes away from your sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, ironically speaking, this is the best I've slept in years. Because the baby cries. I'm like, all right, you done? Cool. Let's both go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I've become...
conditioned yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and do you have brothers and sisters?
I have two brothers. They
Okay.
both practice jiu-jitsu. I have two younger brothers. The middle brother, Abdullah, he's actually one of our head coaches at the academy.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So keeping it right in the family. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Super, super corrupt. Nepotism is the name of the game. Like, I got my dad there.
Awesome.
Half of the assistants are my cousins.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm grooming my son to eventually be free labor, so...
Yeah. That's very good, man. That's very good. It's nice, so having it within the family. So, I mean, I was going to say, how were your parents about you taking up a sporting career? But I mean, it sounds like, you're all sort of part of the journey in one way or another as well.
I mean, you could say that, but like, obviously this was an undertaking which none of us were very familiar with. My dad practiced jiu-jitsu, but he was like, a family man who's had a job his whole life,
Sure.
My mother, while supportive, was very much uninformed and uninvolved in the sport. So it was a real leap of faith for me, one which they supported blindly and completely.
Yeah.
I owe everything I have today to their quote unquote blind support of that, because they had no reason to assume this would pay off.
Yeah.
God knows I didn't know exactly how I would succeed career-wise, financially, or otherwise, I just knew that I really liked this and I wanted to pursue it,
Yeah.
And I suppose it all worked out in the end, but none of us really know how this would turn out.
Yeah, you never do. And a leap of faith, I guess. But I mean, also one that I guess you're always into jiu-jitsu to some degree. Where would you say that bug was triggered, though? Where did it become like, this is what I'm doing?
I mean, the aforementioned first medal was definitely something there. My first World Championship, IBJJ World Championship medal, I actually won having trained completely out of Bahrain. It was when I was gonna move to Brazil.
Yeah.
And that's where I got a bronze medal after 6 fights. So I thought to myself, man, I'm coming out of Bahrain with very little resources, very humble background, and I got third. Now I'm moving to Brazil to train with the best of the best.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come back a year from today. There is no way I can't win the gold medal. And that was my complete, absolute focus for the next 365 days. And sure enough, I came back. Very difficult year, because that was the year where I had to move to Brazil. I had to learn the language, which apparently turned out to be very difficult.
Yeah.
I had to get accepted into university, which was my only way to stay in the country. Start university and somehow balance all of that with my training schedule. Tournaments in which I would compete against people who do not care about challenges and your difficulties. They're just there to beat you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we fast forward to that day, and I won my division after 7 fights. I was a lightweight at that time, so that's 75, 76 kilos. The bonus was that my team kind of pushed me into the open division, which is kind of insane for a lightweight. But yeah, I ran through that, and I got the silver medal in that, which sounds cool until I tell you that to this day, I regret that final match because I know that I could have won it.
Really, yeah.
I was just so overwhelmed with the aforementioned gold medal for my division and the hype of making it to the finals of the open division. And yeah, I kind of went in not wanting it enough. That was the first and last time I went into a fight like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool summary. Won my division, got silver in the absolute divisions, legendary status or almost legendary,
Yeah.
depending on how you view it.
Yeah.
And I fought a guy who was like 3 divisions heavier than me. But yeah, looking back at that fight, that dude was terrified, and he played such a conservative game with me, and then he eventually won by a difference of 2 points.
Oh, wow.
And if I just simply tried harder,
Yeah.
I mean, I was losing anyway. The silver was already handed to me, and so I could have fought harder. But yeah, so yeah, it's funny how I view that. What is this, like 13 years later?
Yeah.
Still a little bit bitter about it.
So what do you think? What was the cause? What was the driving factor? I mean, just...
I mean, like I said, my dream was accomplished that day.
Yeah.
And open division was never on the shelf for me.
Yeah.
It seemed like a bonus. But yeah.
Yeah, one step back kind of.
Yeah, and again, like, it was intimidating. I don't know, I was a kid. I was like 18 at the time, I like to think I've matured since then.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely, man. So you went to Brazil for university.
Yeah.
What did you study?
Computer science. Completely irrelevant, I know, but it was the most convenient option.
Yeah.
The plan was that I'd study nutrition or something of that sort to kind of go hand in hand with my career. And I remember there was this career advisor who became a very good friend of mine from my high school. And I explained the situation to him. I told him, bro, listen, I was like Skyping him at the time. That's Zoom for y'all.
Yeah.
Skype recently got discontinued.
Yeah. I was surprised.
So yeah, I was Skyping. I was just updating him on my career.
Yeah.
And I told him, listen, man, I looked into all the options, and a campus that teaches nutrition is like a 2-hour bus ride away from the academy where I train at. Whereas there's another branch right next to the academy, a 3-minute bike ride away.
Yeah.
And they have computer science. I was like, what are you talking about, computer science? And he was very career oriented. He just wanted the best from me. And we had this big back and forth with, with Skype. That's difficult too, because it's like, he'd make his point and then pause for a few seconds, and I hear him,
Yeah.
simpler times.
At the buffer.
Yeah. But so yeah, it came down to him saying before hanging up, Ali, this is a big mistake, and I really don't want you to make it, and you will regret it. And I was like,
You needed to be closer.
yeah. Is it like I really valued his opinion, but I just knew this.
Yeah.
There was no 2 ways about it.
Yeah.
Be highly inconvenienced and train less, or train a lot under the best circumstances.
Yeah. You had to go with felt right.
And now I can call myself a computer scientist.
Yeah. Have you pursued anything with computer science at all?
No, I barely remember any of it. I passed by the skin of my teeth. I mean, again, I was a good student, but I was never fully invested in it.
Was it number one?
Yeah, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it formed me into the individual I am today.
Yeah.
Just trying to learn a foreign language and then do your university studies in that environment where they don't care about your background or your other commitments. They're like, you're a student. This is our language. you got to pass, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a real character building experience. And yeah, it's always good. God forbid to have that kind of backup. I had the backup, but yeah, thankfully never had to resort to it.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's interesting. So you went to Brazil, got into university. You then started training with Fabio Gurgel. Gurgel, sorry. So a bit of research. If this is all correct, he's nicknamed the General. I believe he's a four-time world champion, co-founder of Alliance, a legendary coach, and he's built one of the most dominant teams in BJJ history. With 9 straight world team titles from 2008 to 2016. So quite the icon. Day one, you're walking into this gym. I mean, I assume even with limited Google and internet and all the rest, I assume you've done your own research. You know where you're going, obviously. So there's also a lot of anticipation. How did you feel the first day walking into a gym like that?
So a couple of things you should know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he already knew me, kind of.
Okay.
I mean, we've had a few encounters in tournaments. I've done a seminar with his. Obviously, we've corresponded with him before I came there, you know.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
So he knew me, he knew of me, and then I was affiliated with the team. So my aforementioned bronze medal kind of put me on the radar.
Nice.
But again, like I walked into a place where at that point in history, so many active legends of the sport were training. I was a fly on the wall.
Sure.
You know, negligible would have been a compliment.
Yeah,
You know, if somebody came up to me one day and said, "Hey, Ali, you've been negligible today," I was like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the general experience. But the first day, there were like 3 other people on the mat because it was right after the World Championship, and people usually take off. So like we were based in Sao Paulo, and that's where everybody trained during the season. The World Championship was the end of the season, so everybody took off back to their hometowns, vacations. Maybe they stayed in the States. That's where the World Championships were held. People went to teach seminars. So my first day was something of an underwhelming day, but it was when like I first trained with, and again, I don't like to use this word, my rival.
Yeah.
It was actually a complete garbage of a human being.
Right.
This dude, he made my life miserable for the 4.5 years I spent there.
Right.
He was just somebody of a similar belt level and division, but he was also very bitter about who I was, where I was coming from, and the success I was having.
Yeah.
So yeah, those 4.5 years were basically us kind of rubbing elbows against each other, and on his part trying to injure me. You know?
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stories like this in jiu-jitsu. But yeah, that dude never really found success. It was just a very terrible human being. But yeah, I still remember my last day training in Alliance Sao Paulo. I generally tried to avoid him because it's a very difficult thing to train with somebody you don't like. Because am I trying to kill you? Or, you know, right here. Yeah, you're like, where do I start? Yeah, you know, like, and it's just not a good vibe to be around. Like, my hardest training sessions are with people I have complete trust with.
Sure.
That's where I can, like, throw you against the wall and then you'll just bounce back and a smile on your face, you know? That dude, no, he was like trying to cause injuries. He was trying to end your career, you know? Anyway, so last day, man, I applied like a highlight reel of a set of just complete dominance. Destroyed him, and then timer ran out, and I was out of there.
Nice.
And that's just like a little funny story in my head. But you know, the sad thing is that he never found success. They tried to bounce around some places to teach because he was never a successful competitor, which doesn't surprise me. He was very skilled. But he was just like again, garbage human being.
Seems like poor mindset though, and poor friction.
And I think part of the friction was during training, he would get the best of me. And I think part of it was just, I wasn't in it to train with this dude, you know, like, because he was always trying to be, very hurtful. Very negative. But yeah, he was bitter that I was finding success outside of the gym, also commercially, also getting called to do seminars, and obviously today with the academy. And meanwhile, like, he's still like assisting people the academy. I don't think he's even there anymore, honestly. Like, I don't even know if he trains anymore.
Yeah. So, but for one bad egg, I assume there must have been a lot of huge influence and talent sort of development for yourself throughout. How long were you training under them?
4.5 years.
4.5 years. Yeah. So quite an experience, I would say. Like,
Oh yeah. Like again, like what I just mentioned was, like you said, one bad egg, one terrible, even to say human being.
sure. Yeah.
Well, there were a lot of legends of the sport, some of whom I lived with. Like, we're all shacked up in the same dingy apartment building, like, to name a few names, Sergio Moraes, Tarsus Humphreys, Michael Lungi, Bernardo Faria. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but yeah, like there were so many people, and it was just like, if anything, it was too much.
Sure. Yeah. Overwhelming.
Yeah, and to think that I was participating in the same classes as these people, I was kind of breathing in the same formula. Well, I later found out it wasn't quite the same formula, but I was consuming the same resources. If you
Yeah. Interesting. No, very interesting. And then so talking about BJJ as a community, so behind the rough and tumble, is there a lot of banter? Is there a lot of like in a lot of sports and teams, like with the club? I mean, is it a strong community? Is that found in all clubs or?
Well, it's martial arts in the end, there's a lot of rivalries, there's a lot of history. Like, again, if there was never any separations, we'd all just be one major gym under the Gracies today,
Sure.
Actually, a lot of very successful competitors and major teams kind of came out of alliance,
Yeah.
There were multiple points in history where there were like these major exits, but I believe 2002 was the worst one, where alliance was left with this bare bones shell of what it was in the 90s.
Right.
And yeah, from that, we've had teams like Atos and Braza at the time, and Checkmat. And today, these are like these major networks, and it would have never happened if not for the, again, it always comes down to this, financial disagreements.
Sure. But again, produced all these different babies just propelling the sport. Yeah. Okay, interesting. So for someone, say, you've got a 12-year-old, 11-year-old kid, he's looking for a sport. Do you see BJJ? I mean, aside from the competition and the rivalries, is it a supportive community? Is it a good sport, would you say, for those adolescents to get into, to be part of a club, to be part of a focus? I mean, I assume obviously owning your own one, you would probably agree with that. But can you tell us more?
Yeah. Regardless of the competitive aspect of it, and I think that there's a lot to be said there, I believe that it's the best lifestyle you can give a kid. There's the obvious stuff, the foundation you give them, the general fitness, the confidence boost, then there's the other things that perhaps are not apparent right off the bat. They're becoming part of a community, that is supportive of them and their goals. And the way Jiu Jitsu works, it's a real problem-solving jigsaw puzzle of a game, and the competitive nature to it, the people you meet, the foundation that is building you up, and I think it's a lifestyle that every kid can benefit from. And what I tell the parents, I always tell them this. I tell them, like, listen, there's two paths we can take with your son or daughter. They could be very serious and compete, and will have my full support, and we can set that plan. But honestly, if they just stick around and keep jiu-jitsu as a major part of their life, so that they eventually become a black belt, that is something amazing in and of itself.
Sure. Yeah.
Regardless of career paths and other nonsense like that, I believe there's a lot to be said in having jiu-jitsu as part of your upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always wonder this, if you get this question, it's a bit similar to rugby as well. Cauliflower ears, is that a must, or is there a way that people avoid it?
I think genetics play a big part of it.
Okay.
Some tissues are more prone to damage than others.
Sure.
And then there's also
But I know a few of you guys, and you've all got them. So
Yeah, but then again, like from my family, I'm the only one.
okay, interesting.
You know, I think it also depends on your style. You know, if you're very grindy, if you go head first into situations,
Sure, and
you know, yeah, it really depends on your style of play. And yeah, I think that and genetics. It's not an absolute must, but uh, usually, usually it comes down to some kind of mistake.
sure, yeah.
So like I don't remember who it was, like just somebody from Jiu Jitsu history, and they were like, "Oh, why don't you have any cauliflower ears?" And I think his answer was something along the lines of, "Because I'm not an idiot." I guess I'm a major anyway.
Cool. So yeah, so it doesn't always happen, and you compete obviously hardcore. I mean, you've taken this down the route fully. Before we do move on from Brazil and the training with the Lions and all the rest, and talking about a bit about banter, I think you had a nickname yourself.
Yeah,
Did that stay with you? I'm gonna absolutely botch this, but Cardia,
I like to hear it. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Cardia Electrica. No.
Oh, that's an old one. Cadeira elétrica. So in Portuguese, it means the electric chair.
Okay, yeah.
And you know, it sounds so badass, right? The electric chair, he executes you, but that's not quite.
Yes.
In this analogy, I was the person being electrocuted.
Right. Okay. So this was early days, then, I guess, in your pursuit.
Yeah. So basically, this was Michael Lange, three-time world champion, and today the head coach of Alliance.
Excellent.
He named me this. Basically, I was so clumsy. Whether I was beating somebody up or they were beating me, there were limbs flying all over the place. And somebody somehow would get hit on the face or the head with like a heel or a stray elbow or whatever. So that's how Cadera Electrica came to be.
Nice.
Again, sounds very badass until you realize that I'm the person in the electric chair being electrocuted.
Yeah, but not everybody's gonna know that. So, well, hopefully from today they will.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool, man. Very cool. So, straight arrow success. So you've had a lot of success in the industry yourself. So you won the IBJJF, the World Championship at Blue Belt. You have a Medal of Honor from His Majesty the King. You've trained alongside and competed against some of the best in the world. Has there been a moment where you questioned if you were cut out for this journey? Probably after that medal that gave you the spur on of drive and determination. Has there been a moment where you question it, or has it always been a straight arrow, touch wood, path for you?
I couldn't say it was always a straight arrow, but I've never seriously considered straying from the path.
Yeah.
There were two instances, once at blue and once at black belt, where I questioned what I was doing, and I thought, is this all not going to work out? Should I stop?
Yeah.
But then I did it,
Opening your computer science books again.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, like, again, I think that's just general mentality from when I was very young, where I didn't have anywhere to turn to.
Yeah.
I think I kind of just operated on that, on autopilot. And yeah, there were some very frustrating moments where I just felt like a complete and utter fool. Like, what am I doing here? Is this gonna work out? And I always, I thought about all the people who kind of have come along for the journey and are rooting for me. And I thought, wow, I must be such a disappointment to them. And of course, people who actually love and care for you, they don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two people, but you don't know this. You don't need those people anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't say that it's been a straight arrow. I can't say that it's all been, success after success.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to always look at the big picture, like when it comes to one tournament. And again, I see my students deal with this a lot, where they get devastated after one win or leading up to the tournament. After one loss or leading up to one tournament, they're so stressed out. And they're like, listen to me, Mr. or Mrs. Blue Belt under 62. 10 years from now, do you think true Jiu-Jitsu fans are going to say, man, remember that one single tournament where that one single guy had this one fight and they didn't win?
Yeah.
That was so horrible, Life doesn't quite work out that way, and it's all about the big picture, So
it's these moments that make you as well, though, right? It's the learning experiences, and
nobody cares about a single medal you won or a single fight that you won, at least in our sport. Nobody does, people like when I eventually stop, I like people when my name is brought up to say, man, he's had some career, a combination of wins, losses, draws, ups and downs.
Yeah.
That's who or what your career really amounts to, It's, one single medal or a world championship or an Asian championship, some personal goal of yours, that's all selfish.
Yeah.
But, career-wise, it doesn't really matter. And what matters much more is not how the fights went or the end result of the fights, but what kind of person you are or what kind of style did you have?
Yeah.
Were you somebody who was a joy to spectate? Were you always going for the submission? Did you have a beautiful game?
Yeah.
Because you could win 100 matches just playing the scoreboard, and it's the most boring thing ever, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Or, win or lose, you're always grinding it out, giving yourself cauliflower ears, wanting, I think there's a lot to be said there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then what I'm wondering is when you've had a moment, where maybe you've pulled an injury or, the match isn't quite in your favor or you got that silver medal, who is Ali from your perspective in that moment? Are you someone who sort of like, what comes to you? Is it anger? Does that go outwards, or are you quite calm and focused and you wait to review on it? I'm curious about that. And I'm curious about, what then are your values and approach to come back from that? An injury as an athlete, as an example.
Yeah, injuries are a funny thing, I've been riddled with many injuries throughout my career. Some a lot more frustrating than others. There was this one season when I was a brown belt, I was barely rolling or sparring at all.
Right.
In fact, I remember I subscribed to this gym that had a pool, and swimming in the pool was my main form of cardio. And the rest of the day was just me doing like mild drills and just visualizing how the fight will work out. And
this is a knee, an ankle, shoulder,
or lower back.
Lower back. Oh, really? Yeah.
It was like, at the time, I think it was like 2 slip discs.
Oh, wow.
But it didn't quite, I think I did the MRI after that or something, but
sure.
So like there were 2 high points in this season. I got 3rd in the World Professional Championship, and a month before that, gold in the London Grand Slam, where I actually, in the final, I beat a rival of mine who, up until that point, he's only beaten me, and usually quite devastatingly as well.
Yeah. Nice to turn the tables then.
Yeah. I remember that, and I think to myself, wow, like theoretically, I got those highs without any practice whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was mostly mental, swimming, and just warming up really well on the day so that I don't feel pain.
Sure.
That's one takeaway from it. But I think injuries are just, especially with high-level sports, it can be something very complicated to deal with,
Yeah.
It just really comes down to what can you do?
Yeah.
And how much of it can you do? I believe in Jiu Jitsu that injuries are an opportunity for you to explore an area or aspect of your game that you might have previously neglected.
Sure.
They can also be a way for you to really tighten up your game in a way that doesn't expose you to said injury. So there's always something to be done. There's always some way for you to train. Injuries can be opportunities. Maybe they're not, but what are you going to do? Are you going to cry about it, or are you going to do something useful?
Sure.
Well, yeah, like it's very rare where you got to pause and stop everything.
Yeah.
Just to cater to your injury. There's post-surgery trauma, obviously.
Yeah.
But barring that, I think it can do much more harm than good to just snub everything, because then you get old man lazy bum injuries.
Yeah. Sure.
You gotta you gotta stay active. You gotta keep the blood flowing. You gotta stimulate the muscles, I believe, at least.
Yeah. Absolutely. So in light of an injury, I'm reading someone who's quite optimistic It's about managing the situation. It's about staying with a positive mindset. What about something where the emotions are delivered in a much shorter period of time? You lose something that you thought you were going to win, or you wanted so badly. Like tennis players, as an example, they sometimes it's an explosion of emotions. Not everybody, depends on the character. How do you deal with that sort of thing? Are you someone who just goes internally and just needs some time, or
It's difficult, like there's certain points where you just brush it off. You're in the middle of the season, you're with the team, you learn from your mistake, you move on. In the end, the same people love and support you as they did before your loss.
Of course,
You still got the same amount in your bank account. There were no real stakes, But they're
emotional.
Yeah, sometimes the loss hits you hard, and I remember certain points where it was this feeling that you cannot really describe. It hurts you from the inside out, and I believe, again, like this might sound wrong, but I believe it's healthy.
Yeah,
because if the loss isn't like eating you and tearing your guts out, you really guarantee that you're going to come back and not lose again.
Yeah.
But if that feeling was so horrible, then you don't want to feel it again. And you're going to do whatever you can to come back and never face that again.
Yeah. Drive to oppose it.
Yeah, and again, it's not the best way to go about it. But when you're talking about high-level sports, it really comes down to really, really, really not wanting to lose.
Yeah.
And how you conduct your life around that, And with amateurs and newer students, you see that kind of, just not accepting a loss and hating life. But like, dude, you just started. You did not put the work in. Your loss and your tournament and your whole division is quite inconsequential.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, wind down. Don't take yourself a little seriously.
Yeah.
But there are points in your career where you do take it seriously and you do not want to give away what you worked so hard for.
Yeah.
So I can't.
So I mean, let's say a colleague of yours, they're competing at a high level, they're a black belt, that that they know the industry in and out. As their coach in that moment, let's say they're in the middle of their competition, they take a loss, but it's not quite all over, and they have this flurry of emotion, anger and frustration. As a coach, what are you going to be telling people here? What's going to be, what's going to be your way forward? I mean, is anger, do you think they should deal with it directly then? Or do you think that it's about touching reality and thinking about, well, where am I, and bringing them back to the present? Do you have a certain approach for that as a coach for athletes?
That's interesting because, again, it really depends on what happened, what were the circumstances, and how did they act out. But I've had this happen before. Let's say,
like the tennis racket smash, let's say, for a bit of context.
Yeah.
And the equivalent of...
We should be so fortunate we don't really have something to throw around. Yeah, in Jiu Jitsu, it could get worse.
Yeah.
Like they could be disrespectful towards the athlete, towards the referee. They could conduct themselves poorly after the match.
Sure.
That's something that I don't tolerate.
Yeah.
But, usually when we go to these events, I am simply there in my capacity as a coach and team manager and fellow human being.
Yeah.
Not like I can just grab somebody and smash their head on the wall, But it's not something that I accept on my team.
Yeah.
If I see that kind of behavior, and it's very rare, first thing, if the organization or the referee or anybody wants to take any action, I will be the first supporter of that.
Yeah.
If there's a sheet I can sign.
You do it.
Consequences, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I let the dude, lash out, chill. If there's anything immediate that needs to be addressed, you got to restrain the person. That's different. But they're just, they're going to go shout in the bathroom, bang on the wall, go.
Yeah.
Go do your thing, Then, once all that is over, then I make my entry. And then I start with love and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they're lashing out, right, and I think this is lost on a lot of people, all that negative, scolding, berating, they're already doing that to themselves. The worst sermon you've imagined yourself telling him,
Yeah.
they've told themselves that about 100 times before you came into that change.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, first thing is listen. No matter what happens, I got your back. I want you to understand that you have our love and our respect and our support. Again, like I'm thinking about a specific story right now. If the guy, like, I don't know, like stabbed somebody, maybe I won't say that.
Cool. No. I mean,
Yeah.
fair competition sort of stuff. Yeah.
You know, so I have your back and I need you to understand that I might have some tips, some adjustments, some advice. But first and foremost, you know, we love you. We have your back. Don't even worry about it.
Mm.
All right. Now, when you're good, yeah, I have some things to tell you.
Yeah.
And then usually they're either still crying and they're just, or they'll tell me, all right, what do you got for me? I'm like, all right, so the technical advice, tips, all that stuff, maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. Your behavior.
Yeah.
And then insert whatever specific advice.
Sure.
And then we hash out the strategic, technical, all that other nonsense in the coming weeks after the tournament.
Sure.
You know?
So I mean, I guess as a martial art in general, it's quite high discipline. Expect discipline and emotional. I mean, emotions happen. But am I right in saying that? Well, what sort of coach would you say you are? Are you a tough coach? Are you sort of autocratic, laissez-faire? What's your sort of, what would you, how would you name yourself?
Box myself in, huh?
Sorry, that wasn't framing. That was context question. This I'm talking about general.
Well, so, you know, it's difficult, right? But I do like to think that I lead by example.
Yeah.
You know, I've come across a lot of quote unquote coaches where they just yell and shout unrealistic instructions.
Yeah.
And they expect you to train a certain way, and then they don't let you have water breaks, which I think is insane, you know.
In the middle.
And then they shout, and then when you lose, they make you feel worse about it, you know, like.
Yeah.
When it comes to training or competing or performing, first requirement, am I doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Am I setting that same bar for myself? Because now, whatever comes out of my mouth, their immediate thought is, what does this guy know? He doesn't even do that.
Yeah.
So I've gained myself some credibility. So lead by example, perhaps, is how I would define myself as, you know, because a lot of times, you know, like I might have some credibility and I tell them, man, you're doing this, this, and this, and this, and you should do this and that and do this and that. And whether or not they listen, I suppose is irrelevant. But in their eyes, I am credible because I've done that and I've been through that and I'm doing it right now. You know, yeah, I guess that's how it's kind of.
So yeah, you don't. Yeah, it's you want to show from experience. You want to show lead, as you said, from example. It's not. Yeah. Okay, interesting. We're still in success, and I guess we also then now touched on how do you approach it when things go wrong to bring you more success. What's your biggest moment in your career?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I mean, we've
few moments.
We've touched on a few. Yeah, no, there was the first World Pro, then there was the IBJJF World Championship. There was that back pain season. Perhaps like what most people remember me for is also a very important day. Was this was like the third or fourth time His Majesty the King has hosted me, but this was a special one. And it was after the 2021 World Championships. I just won.
Yeah.
And some people, they come and they hand me a phone. They're like, His Majesty the King wants to have a conversation with you. Oh, well, you know, congratulate you. So I pick up the phone and I hear somebody say, Ali Mabruk, you know, congratulations. And then I immediately go into this whole thing where I thank him and I tell him that it's such an honor. And I guess to see the Bahraini flag above all those others is, you know, and, you know, I have a long history with yourself and His Highness Sheikh Nasser and Sheikh Khalid. And I just gave him like this 30-second burst of gratefulness. And then he listened. And then this person was like, all right, His Majesty the King will take the phone now and you can speak to him. I was speaking to the person handing him the phone.
Oh dear.
you know. But then the real
Sort of a trial session on it.
yeah. But then the real conversation started, and he invited me over to his palace a few days later. I was still
Amazing.
Abu Dhabi, and that's where the then president of Brazil was doing his first visit to Bahrain, his first diplomatic visit, and it was a major moment for our two countries. And that was the day where he awarded me the Medal of Bahrain of the second degree, and that's where he introduced me to the president, who was a very big fan of Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're handing me the medal. And I move on from His Majesty the King to Jair Bolsonaro, and I just naturally spoke to him in Portuguese, and I said, Mr. President, it's an amazing honor. Welcome to Bahrain, something along that, And his eyes were just like this, but like, how is this dude speaking my language, And then
that was the perfect recipe, though. You couldn't have delivered it any better.
yeah, and then I was like, oh, I lived in Brazil for a few years. I'm one of y'all, And then he just hugged me. He was like, oh, he's our kid,
Yeah,
And it's like that definitely stands out when you talk to me about top moments that day and the competition that preceded it. That was just a very, very nice memory.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Is that that's the ultimate competition then? Is that in a way?
I suppose you could definitely make an argument for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I saw the big medal and the picture was a fantastic picture. Yeah, and we're going to put a few of these up on the top of the screen. But yeah, it must have been a great moment with His Majesty the King. Absolutely. So then I guess bringing you back round and circling back today, you've built Elements Jiu Jitsu Academy, arguably the best and most successful academy in Bahrain. Let's just start with, I have a deeper question for you. Let's just start with the basics. How long have you been open for?
We opened in August of 2019. That puts us at almost 7 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 7 years almost.
Yeah.
We moved to our newest location about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Which the grand opening of which was conducted by His Highness Sheikh Khalid Khalifa.
Yeah.
The really cool day.
Yeah.
A lot of stress.
Yeah.
Up to that moment, you want to make everything perfect,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our main facility right now in Tubli.
Fantastic.
I love being there. I love just, it's my second home, sometimes my primary home.
Sleep in there, yeah. At least you got the mats and the soft furniture.
We're set up well.
Yeah. So what was your initial drive, your vision for Elements, and when did you realize that you want to go from now athlete to coach?
Well, I think those two things crossed over for a very long time. Where today I am mostly a business owner and coach.
Yeah.
But still, to a large extent, a serious athlete.
Yeah.
But it was always going to be a part of my journey. And I think my main motivation was give the students what I would have given myself when I started out.
Yeah.
Like I said, very few resources back when I started in 2006. And the systematic approach, the multiple coaches, the points of view, the curriculum, the facility, the network, the competition plans, the support that they're offered. I just want the kind of dream scenario that young Adi would have wanted. Perhaps not even would have wanted, that he didn't even know that was possible,
Well, yeah.
So it's really my own selfish pet project where I just want to make the best thing I would have given myself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Nice. And what's been your hardest lesson then about turning a personal passion into a thriving community?
So obviously Jiu-Jitsu is a martial art, and there's a lot of martial arts traditional baggage that comes with that. But from the very beginning, we wanted to be as professional a business as possible.
Yeah.
When it comes to the facility, the customer service, the academic portion of it. We call ourselves an academy. We're a school,
Sure. Yeah.
And martial arts, many of them traditionally, if you ask your coach, when am I receiving my next belt? Your coach would shut you up, yell at you, and then tell you you're delayed for another year.
Well,
We have a very clear path laid out. Like I always give this example. When you're at university, you're allowed to ask your professors these questions. He's not gonna lash out at you. Just making the process as professional as possible. Something where a parent bringing their kid in and the parent themselves and the parent's parent would all feel at home being there. We just want to make the place a home to many people, but we also want to add a level of prestige to what was once a much more grounded martial art.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting. So almost, you're almost evolving it in your own way as well, to your own sort of preference in how you're interacting with the customer. Like you said, to like a 12-year-old coming in before you're not, competing would be fantastic and you'll support them, but there's so much to be learned as well in the academy and the drive and the path that they'll pursue in that time as well. And that will come through that support, knowing when they're going to get their next belt, right? The one level to the next.
Absolutely.
Any tips for other passionate people looking to start their own business in the sports industry? In Bahrain, the GCC?
Yeah. You see, we live in an age where instant gratification is a given, with many people. But I think that legitimacy is extremely important. If you want to turn something into a business, you need to be very good and very well credentialed at what you do. And people, a lot of times, they skip that important step.
Sure. Yeah.
You can't be a coach without having, run through the trials and tribulations to become a coach. And same thing goes for an athlete. Same thing goes for a business owner.
Yeah.
So yes, marketing is important. PR is important. Presentation is important. But if it is all based on fluff, people will see through us.
Yeah.
It's all gonna fall apart.
Sure.
Like the academy, we've always, tried to innovate in our own ways. We've tried some things, we've pivoted from other ways, but the foundation was always very solid, which is more than I can say for a lot of people, and that's instant gratification. It's toxic, you got to understand that success, it could come now, it could come later, it could come for a bit now, it could pass by later, it could come in a decade. Do you have the grit, perseverance, but also are you malleable? Are you able to shift, pivot, innovate, improve? And none of that is gonna happen unless you really love what you do. But more importantly, what you're doing.
That instant gratification bit, we touched on the social media earlier, but again, I think it's just another byproduct of people constantly in dreamyland, and they see these posts and, I can do that, and I just want to get that up there, but they're forgetting about the whole journey, the learning curve, the experience, the grit, the perseverance, the wins, the ups, the downs. Interesting. And that's 7 years in.
That's, and counting.
Fantastic. Talking about elements, just a little bit deeper. What driving philosophies behind elements? Do you have some sort of mantra or some sort of philosophy that starts with the kids? Usually, I would imagine it starts with youth in that sort of essence.
Yeah. So, like I said, we first and foremost value our professionalism.
Yeah.
And we value how we conduct ourselves as a school, as an academy, and of course, customer service,
Yeah.
And again, going back to old school martial arts, students or disciples were treated as if you're doing them a favor. Whereas I, in my capacity as a coach, I suppose have some authority. But other than that, I am a servant.
Sure.
I am providing a service that people pay good money for.
Yeah.
People might have issues. They might have complaints. They might have questions, inquiries, doubts. It is my job and our entire staff, teams, coaches, assistant coaches, to cater to those.
Yeah.
We might not like how a certain person conducts themselves, but how we conduct ourselves is entirely under our control.
Yeah.
So those are our core values, which, again, and I must repeat this, there needs to be a very solid foundation of legitimacy to back all of that up.
Yeah.
And I think everything leading up to elements and to this day we've been building on. But yes, presentation is very important in my opinion.
Absolutely. And if I was recommending elements to somebody else, a kid, they
Yes.
be a young. Sorry, when I'm recommending elements, what's the? What do we say? Do we come down? Just come up to the class? How do I get somebody involved?
So basically, they could contact us, they could call us, they could WhatsApp us, they could come by the reception, and we have a very easy framework for them. Come in, ready, with an hour to spare. We book you ahead of time. Your introductory class is free of charge. We'll provide all the equipment and the coach one-on-one.
Oh, wow, okay.
Fantastic. And yeah, you like that, and you register, you still get 2 more one-on-one sessions with the coach on us. Because before joining our fundamentals course, we like them to be very well prepared.
Yeah.
Are they technically ready to join what one would call a beginner's class?
Yeah.
Perhaps. But, it's part of the experience, and there's 3 set classes 1, 2, and 3. And it's kind of like an easy way to bridge somebody who is very likely completely unfamiliar with the sport to then joining a class with other compatriots who could have been training for a few weeks or a few months at that point. Personally, I've never taught a trial class because it's not always me. I have multiple coaches.
Of course, yeah.
I've never taught one where the person didn't join after. And that's not a brag. That's not. That's just how much I believe in the product. In fact, I remember one instance where the person didn't join, but they were literally passing by Bahrain.
Yeah.
And I lost contact with this person, but he said, I love it. I'm going back to wherever they were going, and I'm going to start jiu-jitsu there. So I know that's
converted yourself.
Give me a community, a service. That's the one time I didn't convert someone. That's how much I believe in jiu-jitsu as a lifestyle for people of all ages, sizes, backgrounds.
Yeah. Interesting. It sounds fantastic. We might have to take you up on it ourselves.
I mean, I'm here.
Absolutely. So, Ali, we're nearly close to wrapping up. Just a couple more questions. One last in-depth one, if you like, or last 2. What's next on the horizon for Ali or for Elements or everything for you?
It's a fair question. Around 8 or 9 months ago, I had my last major competition. And I really shifted focus into managing the academy and just coaching and being more present, no weight cuts, no constant trips, being there for my family. And I really think we've elevated the business portion of the academy since then, just because I'm much more mentally present, And funny enough, I've never loved the sport more because now I'm doing it out of pure passion.
Yeah.
As opposed to a deadline and a tournament that I need to win, But yeah, recently I've come upon an opportunity. So Saudi Arabia, they launched their internal Jiu-Jitsu league, and it's been going on for a couple of years, but this year it became a closed league between their clubs. And there are big bucks going down in this league. It's insane, the amount of passion and investment from the coaches and the clubs. These are numbers that are just foreign to us,
Yeah.
And this year was the first time, this season actually, is the first time they've allowed a quota, a very small quota of foreign professional athletes to compete in that local league. So myself and my student Abdullah Sheikh were officially the first professionals to be hired with contracts in this league. So we joined Al Hilal Club, which, objectively speaking, is the best club in all of Saudi Arabia and football, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, and if it wasn't before, it certainly is now in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And we've kind of filled the quota of the team. So thank you. So I spoke to some of my students, and I was like, look, I tried to get you guys in a Hilal, but you know what? Spread around.
Yeah.
So we have some people with Al Shabab Club, we have some people in Qadsiya, we have some people in Khalij Club, all major clubs.
Yeah.
Which is funny because we all train together at Elements every day, but within the context of that league,
You're going to be potentially rivals.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
No, and
Mix it up.
and there are some real stakes there. It's not like I can just go laugh it off and beat my students.
Yeah.
Like again, it's all fun and games, but there are real stakes. And
Yeah.
I think this is gonna make the sport really jump up in level. Like this, Saudi as a national team have really jumped up in level in the last decade or so.
Sure.
But yeah, what the Ministry of Sport is doing right now, I don't want to say it's unheard of for sports, but it certainly is for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, sure.
So it's pretty cool.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, I think Saudi, like we're seeing this, we were chatting with somebody regarding boxing, and it's a very similar sort of thing with the regional developments. The investments are going into sport from football. I mean, they had obviously the SBL's been growing year after year with players and transfers. The Live Golf tournament. I mean, the amount of money they're putting into major boxing bouts and tournaments and so on and so forth. And then now you're seeing this all trickle down as well, right the way from different sports to different levels. And yeah, it's incredible. I think it's going to bring a lot of opportunity for Bahrain, Qatar, and all the countries in the GCC and further afield. It's
I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I'm just there in my capacity as an athlete. But yeah, to see now the inner workings and inner politics and bitterness and teams trying to one up on another, but not in the most ethical ways,
Sure, yeah.
It is horrifying, where I'm just trying to like armbar somebody,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. Well, we wish you all the best with that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Last one for you. So we have the thing called Legacy Line. This is words to live by. So what is your most important message, lesson, or quote that you'd like to leave with the audience or any future aspiring athletes?
Again, there's so many things I could say, but again, like in the truest sense of the word, perhaps just be true to yourself. Like there's a lot of set requirements when it comes to your field, but adding that blend of personality of what and who you are and staying true to yourself and letting that be your guiding light, I believe is a very effective way to go about it. Like in the end, we're all individuals, we're all human beings, and what you bring to the table, it needs to be unique, and people just won't care or remember if you're just doing some cookie cutter version of the same formula that has been going on for decades or centuries, But if you stay true to yourself within reason, I think that's a very good way to go about your life.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Bit of fun, quick fire round.
Oh,
okay. So,
but I might mess this up, but I'll be ready.
It'll be this or that, little or no thinking, gut response. Competition day, black, blue, or white gi? White. Preferred style, gi or no gi?
Gi.
Pre-match rituals or simply quiet and focused?
Quiet and focused.
Your go-to meal after a competition win?
Pizza, but it has to, there's so many things.
There's so many options.
Like if I could have other stuff with the pizza, that'd be ideal, but pizza.
Pizza's your number one, okay. Favorite submission technique?
Footlock.
Footlock. Number one BJJ all time, Roger Gracie.
Wait, yeah.
I didn't even say it.
Yeah, you could say, you're going to say Bushesha, you're going to say Hickson Gracie, Leo Vieira. I don't know. It's Roger Gracie matter,
You're correct, and you saved me from butchering his name for that. Coaching youth development sessions or coaching athletes?
Do you have to choose? They could be one and the same. Jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu,
Okay, so I'm thinking young potential or in world class?
Oh, the first one, as an athlete, athletes could potentially be the worst kind of people to deal with.
Yeah, sure. One word that describes your jiu-jitsu journey?
Sacrifice.
Most memorable professional match?
2023 World Masters Championship Final, black belt, Master 1, under 77 kilos. I've lost to this guy twice before. One of them very questionable, but whatever. I beat him and I won the world title. And that was a very good day. It was probably my personal favorite.
Fantastic. That's on your YouTube channel?
It is.
We'll get a link up onto that for sure. Absolutely. Ali, want to say thank you very much for coming. It's been a real pleasure to talk with you. We have a little parting gift for you, which is a conversation with coaches.
Oh, man. If you've met me, I do love to put my face on things. So this is so cool. The aforementioned medal as well.
Yes, this is the one I was looking for.
Look at that. This is so cool. And I'm a big coffee drinker too.
Excellent.
But it almost feels like the coffee will be wasted on that.
Use it as you please. The more
This is so cool. Thank you so
You're
much.
most welcome. Ali?
Man, I came here with no expectations.
Yeah.
If you opened with, you get a free mug, I would give you like 5 podcast episodes, you know?
We'll line them up then. Ali, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.